Well, folks, we just witnessed the worst trade in American history, and it tops the Vikings trading for Herschel Walker in 1989. Joe Biden has just announced today that Brittney Griner is on a flight home in exchange for Viktor Bout, an arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death and inspired the Nicolas Cage movie Lord of War. It is important to note that Paul Whelan, a former U.S. Marine that is being detained in Russia for alleged espionage, was not included in the deal and that it had to be a one-for-one swap. Damn, Biden, you couldn't have gotten like some draft picks with it as well? Here's the thing. If Joe really wanted Griner or Whelan free, he could have done it a lot sooner. If Hunter Biden was detained in Russia over the other two Americans, you can damn well bet he would have blackmailed the Russians into firing the prosecutor overseeing his trial with a 6-hour timeline and a $1 billion loan guarantee.
I said, you're not getting the billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
However, Viktor Bout was sentenced to 25 years after he was arrested in Thailand. Hell, after watching The Hangover 2, I didn't even know Thailand had laws, let alone that you could even be arrested there. So he must be a pretty bad guy. Well, he sold many of the weapons to al-Qaeda to use against American soldiers in Afghanistan. Think about this. We spent 20 years fighting al-Qaeda, the group responsible for killing 3,000 Americans on 9/11. And we just traded a WNBA star that brings in negative $10 million in revenue on average every year to our economy for a guy that was giving them all their weapons. As it currently stands with the WNBA, Brittney Griner is more valuable to us retired or in a Russian prison than she is on an active roster. It's almost like they wanted the guy free to go stir up conflicts overseas for us to get involved in. It wouldn't be the most outrageous conspiracy to be proven true under this administration either. As for Putin, touche. Putin played Biden like a fiddle he is and recognized his country's needs over emotion. And look, I'm happy for Brittney Griner. I'm happy that her wife gets to see her soon. And as much as I disagree with her opinions, she's an American, but Brittney Griner broke Russian law. As little as it may seem, it's not up to me or anyone else to say that she was unjustly jailed. She broke the law. We also have a former U.S. Marine that may or may not be a spy that we could have traded over her. If he's a spy, don't you think that he would be more of a national security asset to get back, especially over a woman who won't stand for those who protect our national security to begin with? Trading for a Marine would have been much fairer and reasonable trade. If he was a spy, then it would have only added to the value, right? It doesn't surprise me, though. The Democrats took one look at Griner's left-leaning ideology and her $5 million in net worth and immediately knew that they had to trade a genocidal Russian agent in order to secure donations from the basketball star in the next election cycle. That just goes to show you that it pays to be a gay Democrat. But why would we trade the CEO of international terrorism for a WNBA star? Well, international terrorism isn't even a threat to the U.S. anymore, at least not according to the Department of Homeland Security. On November 30th, the Department of Homeland Security put out a national terrorist bulletin. You know who the threat is? Let me read it. The main concern is domestic violent extremists that have expressed grievances based on perceptions that the government is overstepping its constitutional authorities or failing to perform its duties. Historically, issues related to immigration and abortion have been cited by prior attackers as inspiration for violence. Potential changes in border security enforcement policy and increase in non-citizens attempting to enter the U.S. or immigration-related developments may heighten these calls for violence. So the Department of Homeland Security doesn't think that international terrorism is a problem in the United States at all. In fact, it thinks that, people who disagree with the Biden administration's policy of letting anyone who wants to walk in here completely unchecked, who, could possibly commit international terrorist acts, we're the problem. The ones that disagree with allowing them to do that. They also go on to say, this one's even funnier, that domestic violent extremists who have conducted attacks have incited previous attacks and attackers as inspiration. Following the late November shooting at an LGBTQIA, whatever the blah, blah, blah bar in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which remains under investigation, we have observed actors on forums known to post racially or ethnically motivated violent extremist content. praising the alleged attacker. The crazy thing about this is that the alleged attacker was a part of the LGBTQI plus bar. They spoke on this and they blame the right for being domestic terrorists. They label people like myself as domestic terrorists just because I don't agree with their position. Meanwhile, the things that they're blaming us for, it's their supporters that are actually carrying these attacks out.